Welcome to Divisive Issues, the foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where we talk about comic books. I'm Sly.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl. And we made it, but Batman's partner did not.
No, spoilers!
Spoilers!
I didn't read it yet.
This is a spoiler-filled podcast, buddy.
Yeah, but that was the big question of the day back in the 80s when the story came out. Will Robin survive?
So, Robin, my beloved Robin, Jason
Dick
Todd.
Grayson.
Yeah, so in the early 80s, Dick Grayson retired as Robin and became Nightwing.
What?
And then
No
Jason
way.
Todd took over. Now, Jason Todd originally was basically the same as Dick Grayson. He was an acrobat whose parents were killed, so Batman adopted him.
Yeah.
Cool. It's like getting struck by lightning twice with chemicals around you, and
Yeah.
then your uncle had whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the chemicals get struck by lightning and explode.
For people thinking that Phil is joking, that's the literal origin for Kid Flash. Flash got hit by chemical lightning, and then Kid Flash got chemical lightning in the same exact spot, and they're like, wow, lightning struck
Flash
twice.
was giving him a tour.
But like in the same
Okay,
exact
but
spot.
you know what? When he says chemical lightning, literally, he happens to get struck by lightning standing next to dangerous chemicals. Like
The same dangerous chemicals, exact same spot, exact same dangerous chemicals, and it creates the exact same reaction.
It's like when all the planets align kind of a thing. It just rarely happens. It's once every century.
The one difference I want to point out is that Kid Flash was created in 1960. Jason Todd was like 1986. So, like, I think it's more forgiving when it's 1960.
Well, but it shows that comic writers are sometimes lazy even decades later.
Yes.
It's hard when like that kind of thing gets so ingrained in the culture, like things happening again. Like if Ben Grimm went into space after being cured of being Rockman, and then he becomes Rockman again. It's just
You mean
like
Mega Man?
yeah, I was gonna say
Rockman's the
Bates.
fucking Japanese name. Now you have to give credit,
I feel like
American name.
at this point, like it almost like plays on nostalgia. That it's like, oh, it's like the same kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
Jason Todd's a lot like Robin.
So most comic fans at the time were not as forgiving as Darryl, shockingly, and they hated him. So when DC did like a soft reboot in the mid 80s, they were like, let's give a new update. And this is when they retold Batman's story as Batman Year One, which like is
Oh.
probably the most popular Batman story.
Wait, your one's that old?
Yeah, it's from 86. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, basically, this soft reboot, basically everything was reset to have a more contemporary setting. Superman was powered down from this, the fucking Jimmy Olsen fanboys.
Yeah, the Kryptonite God again,
Yeah, and all that shit.
or Kryptonian God.
And Batman, they basically retooled it in more grittier style. And the same thing happened with Jason Todd. He was retooled in a more grittier style.
Yes. So they updated him where instead of being an acrobat, he's like a street kid who Batman meets him because he's visiting his parents, like the site they died in Crime Alley, and Jason Todd steals the hubcaps off the Batmobile. And he's now like his dad was killed by Two-Face. His mom was like supposedly some junkie somewhere. But, the story delves into that. But he's now like this grittier, more like edgy, violent Jason Todd. And throughout the next year and a half, they made him more of like a little shit that was like more of a foil where Batman's like, is he is he borderline evil? Or like, can I actually save him from himself? And I find that stuff really interesting, but apparently fans did not. So DC had this idea that was like, hey, why don't we start a 1-900 hotline where people would call in and vote on what our writers should do? And Denny O'Neil, who we've talked about before, he created Jon Stewart. He did the question stuff. He was like, well, we can't just do that with something minor, so why don't we give them the choice to kill Robin or not? And they started this hotline, and about 5,300 people voted to kill him, and 5,200 people voted to not kill him. And they later found out that some guy hated Jason Todd so much that he programmed his computer to call, like, every 8 minutes for 8 hours. So this one guy single-handedly killed Robin.
Wow, the first Russian troll.
That's the thing that happens a lot in comics, by the way. Like, when there's like a big, let's kill off this character, they're like, phone in if you want to change this, because they want to have the hype of the character dying, but they want to have their hands be clean of killing a classic character. In this case, it was not the traditional Robin, but it was still advertised as the death of Robin. So like even like we got some media attention in the mainstream saying Robin's dead, and like it was not the Robin everyone knew from the '60s TV show or anything, but it was still a Robin's corpse if you picked up the comic book and read it.
I have a weird question about when they introduced Jason Todd. Was that response to another writer? Like, did a writer say, I want Dick to become Nightwing, and then he became Nightwing, and then they're like, well, Batman really needs Robin?
Dick became Nightwing in a different book. That was when he was in Teen Titans.
Yeah. Basically, what happens with a lot of characters. He basically branched out to become his own character enough. He didn't even show up much in Batman anymore. Like past.
Well, because what happened was Denny O'Neil, when he was writing Batman in the 70s, Robin went away to college and he kind of pulled him out of the book a little bit. So he would pop up sometimes, but he wasn't like he wasn't in every issue anymore.
And he was no longer the boy wonder, he was a teen wonder at that point.
Yeah, so then they basically gave the Teen Titans creator, and this is the same guy, this is Marv Wolfman, who created Cyborg and Raven, and he gave him basically like, do whatever you want with Dick Grayson. He's kind of out of Batman now. And then when he retired, they I think they just took the opportunity, like, hey, Batman and Robin is iconic. Let's just do it again.
Yeah, and later on, after Jason Todd, they actually had a story, A Lonely Place of Dying, which emphasizes why Robin needs to be in the comics, which is like an interesting. We could maybe do that at some point, because there's always a question of why does this fucking guy just as bad has a little boy.
Yeah, why keep a young child around to fight crime against like dangerous serial killers?
Well, maybe one day we'll cover it. The Lonely Place of Dying is about how Batman basically it's about like you can't have somebody be purely Batman or else he'll go insane, and so that's basically just of it. But here's a story that leads to that, which is where Robin dies. Death in the Family.
So I just wanted to say we're covering not only Death in the Family, but also the 2 issues before it. These are all written by Jim Starlin, who, a peek behind the curtain, we're recording this episode before the Thanos episode, but he also wrote Thanos Quest, which we have talked about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, us from the future. Good job on that.
And yeah, so we're doing 424 to 429.
420.
Yeah. So first we're doing the first 2 issues, 424 and 425, which are The Diplomat's Son, this is one of my favorite Jason Todd stories. So the premise is the like short elevator pitch is there's a diplomat and his son is a real piece of shit, and Robin like gets super edgy all over him, and Batman has to question what exactly is Robin, like where is he going in his life. So it starts with Robin hearing a scream, and he swings into a building, and it's the building of Felipe Garzano.
It's me.
Phil. He's the diplomat's son, and Batman and Robin fight this guy and all these guards, and they find a model named Gloria in bed, and she's a huge black eye, and she's like really scared and covered under the covers, and she's been assaulted by him, but when they take her to the police station, Commissioner Gordon says that he has diplomatic immunity, and it's his word against hers.
He says, Commissioner Gordon says that Felipe has diplomatic immunity, and I.
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon doesn't say I have diplomatic immunity.
Yes, you're right. And basically he says, well, him and his guard both corroborate his story, and we can't really, like, she has no proof. He just says she fell into a door. And it's like, kind of, I haven't read the story in a long time, and reading it, I'm like, oh wow, this is men not believing women's accusations. That's like a super big thing right now.
That kind of was a surreal moment for me, because when they said like, oh, she fell on a doorknob, that's like a joke at this point, but it had to be like a real excuse at some point to become a cliche. So like this is like must be like back in the era when that was like, oh yeah, she fell on a doorknob, but people actually used that as an excuse, and it wasn't like code for I beat the shit out of her.
I mean, it probably was code, and it was also code for like don't talk about it. Like okay, like that's none of my business anymore. Like I'm gonna stay out of it.
Yeah.
Also, he has diplomatic immunity because his dad is a diplomat.
Yeah,
but
that's a diplomat and a drug lord, which will.
It's pretty weird. Like, like the son does, but I guess
the way it's handled, it's still like that's very silly. But Batman basically says if we can prove that he has some sort of crime, like if he has some sort of association with a crime, then the U.S. will, like I guess, extricate him, or
they'll like demand that the country recalls him. They'll say like we're not operating with this diplomat, and they're from a country that's like made up like they always do in comics, where it's like. What do they call it? Bogotaga or something? It's supposed to be like some South American country.
Well, it was interesting that they do that here because in the second half, Death in the Family, they actually do get into real world geographical stuff. But it's funny that they do that bullshit comic stuff. Like, it's Gotham City, Metropolis, all these cities that don't exist.
Yeah,
and the idea, I guess, is if we can prove that he committed a crime, the country will have to recall him and send a different diplomat.
Yeah, he's a faulty product. They have to recall him.
Yeah. And Batman's like, were you looking at him though? Obviously he's on cocaine. Like he's crazy.
Yeah.
So they follow him and they find him like dealing. He buys it from, I think Batman calls it a place that obviously sells cocaine.
Oh yeah, we should mention that also when he gets extradited, Batman believes that the shame will make him like really bummed out. The Felipe really bummed out. So and Jason Todd's like, are you serious? That's the only punishment we're gonna give him. I mean, Batman's like the best we could do, make him really bummed down about losing his diplomatic.
Just shame him.
Yeah. And even though like this is dealing with like assault and drugs, there's still some like Bronze Age dialogue where Batman and Robin are spying on him, and Felipe goes into the like crack den, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here for some new nose candy."
Yeah, I love that. And they're like, "What are you gonna do if your father finds out?" And he's like, "He won't. Give me that crack," or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like,
give me that crack.
So they track him, he buys his nose candy, and then they beat up everybody, and they catch him with a bunch of drugs, and they take him to the police precinct, and they're like, okay, he's getting deported. But he goes, let me just make one phone call, and he calls the model, and he's like, hey, Gloria, I'll be seeing you soon. Like, we'll have lots of fun, even more fun than last time. And Robin I think he calls him like a filthy animal or something. Like
dirty, stinking animal.
Yeah, he calls him a dirty, stinking animal. And then Robin's like, we have to go help her. Like, she's obviously broken. I think he calls her like a cracked crystal that looks strong, but you're afraid to touch it because it'll shatter under the lightest pressure. And when they go to her apartment, because she's not answering her phone, she's hung herself.
Yeah, Batman and Robin find her hung body hanging from
And Robin is obviously very like pissed off at this, so he tracks down Felipe and he confronts him on his balcony, and then it cuts to Batman arriving as Felipe falls off the balcony to his death, and he goes, what happened? Was he pushed or did he fall? And Robin says, oh, I guess I spooked him. He must have slipped. And then like it's pretty clear that he threw him over the balcony.
Yeah, he fell into the door.
Yeah. He fell into the door. We don't get to see it, what happened, but like all the things leading up to it, and even the cover looks like Robin's pushing him off the fucking...
I think he must have, because Felipe never really seemed intimidated by Robin enough to like be like, oh fuck, a little kid's gonna kick my ass.
And Robin was never meant to intimidate anyone. Like,
yeah,
it's like not
like maybe Batman could scare him off the ledge, but I feel like Robin wouldn't.
Yeah, but I love that Batman, like, even though it's so obvious, he's like, maybe I'll give him a chance. Maybe he fell. And like, I think like Batman's trying to like, well, I didn't see it, so I can't be for sure.
I think the parallels to the doorknob pushing is perfect.
Yeah.
Like that's a really apt way to end the comic.
And this is like, this is like one of my favorite Batman issues like ever, personally. But the second issue, the way this plot resolves is it's a little less poignant, I think. But really? His dad, the diplomat, yeah.
That's probably going to be the theme of this, where a lot of good points are made and then dumb.
Well, it's just most Batman action scenes I've ever seen. Like they're so similar. Like it's a bunch of guys with guns standing around cover that Batman can hide behind, and then getting grabbed. Like every single fight is like, how could Batman do this? But I know it's because he uses the darkness or whatever, but they're very similar. Like even the drug den, like they don't even do they don't do anything. They kick down the door and just start like beating people up who all have guns. Yeah. And this whole issue is just that. It's like, why don't we meet in a place where there's darkness everywhere? We'll be single guards behind shadows.
It's true. The only thing that can stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy who spent his entire life training to get revenge on criminals.
But why do they fight in these places?
I don't know. So, Felipe's dad, the diplomat, has kidnapped Commissioner Gordon and handcuffed him to a car in a big junkyard that has lots of... It's basically like the junkyard from Brave Little Toaster, that there's just like comically high piles of cars. And he sends Batman
Are they singing?
Yeah. He sends Batman a note that says, like, bring the boy, but aside from him, come alone, from a bereaved father. And so Batman goes to the junkyard alone because he knows that he's going to try to kill Robin, but Robin follows him anyway. Batman's beating up some goons, but then gets... But even this, like, at one point, Batman jumps and they shoot each other, and he's like, damn, I wanted to avoid some death, but, like, it's fine.
I do like one point where Batman just throws a car battery at a guy and says, oh, it's improvisational.
Yeah. And so Robin shows up and helps him with the fight because Batman was, cornered in the corner like he always is, and Robin saves him. Then... During the big final confrontation, Gordon gets shot in the shoulder, and Felipe's dad is killed when a tower of cars falls over. And the thing that I really like about this issue is Robin's like, hey, we did it. It's all wrapped up nicely. And he's like, no, it's not. Like, look, there's dead bodies all over the place. Gordon's been shot. You have to realize your actions have consequences, Robin. And Robin, like, looks like kind of broken up about it. And that ends the Diplomat's son.
Yeah.
Yep. And
now begins Death in the Family.
Death in the Family.
Who's gonna die? What family?
we already fucking spoiled this.
Yeah. the Bat family suffers a loss. It starts out with a fight scene where Robin just rushes into, what do they say, a kiddie porn warehouse or something?
Yes, it's a kiddie porn
Yeah.
warehouse.
And they won't wait for the cops, or well, Batman wants to wait for the cops, but Robin's like, I'm going in, I don't care.
Which is just like a small like funny thing is like how, I mean, visually the art style uses shadows a lot, like a lot of blackness when Batman's like going out at night, which is really neat. But their costumes are straight up like old comic book type of costumes. So Robin's in like his like what are
The
those,
pixie
like, the
shorts,
thigh-high,
the
Yeah.
pixie boots,
yeah, the
and
pixie shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're going into a child pornography warehouse. It's like such a weird.
So we should mention this. They talk about because this is Joker after a Killing Joke. 'cause they say,
Right
like,
after the killing.
yeah, and also they obviously after Dark Knight Strikes Again, after the whole darkification of Batman's not Dark Knight Strikes Again, Dark Knight Returns, the darkification of Batman started really happening again.
Yeah.
The comics were still drawn like it was like 60s Batman.
Well, this is done. The art in this book is by Jim Aparo, who was the definitive 70s Batman artist, aside from Neil Adams, because he did like the Batman team up book, Brave and the Bold, for like years and years. He's like what a lot of people consider like late 70s Batman. So his style, like the Jim Starlin's writing, is very mature most of the time, but Aparo's art is definitely, like Sly said, it's still kind of 60s-esque.
Yeah, and it's very bright, and there's always like there's whumps and wham as they're hitting these pornographers.
And Robin is wearing the pixie shorts. It's funny because he's like the last Robin to wear the pixie shorts, but like it's funny that he's the darkest, like murderous Robin.
And while this is happening
Yeah.
too, this whole fight scene, it's all in Batman's like narration in his head. And it's like, it is kind of like dark narration. He's like, Robin's looking like he's trying to get himself killed. He's moody and resentful and reckless. I'm putting this guy in the hospital. I take the last pornographer and throw him to Robin to work off some of that aggressive energy. And at the same time, Robin is like this like 60s looking Robin going wham, pow.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite Jason Todd moments is not in this book, but it's earlier, where when they were still like, is he campy or is he dark? Because they like didn't commit to it at first. At one point he says like, holy fish hooks or something like that, and Batman's like, no, you don't get to say that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's such an interesting like juxtaposition between like the two the styles, the modern like Batman noir you're used to, along with like the almost like classic Batman.
Yeah.
My favorite Jason timeline is actually right in this scene. After they beat up the kiddie porn guys, Batman says, "You got yourself killed doing that," and Robin's just like, "Your misses don't count. What do you think we're doing here? Playing some game?" And Robin says, "Of course, all life's a game," and he just walks away.
Yeah, so I like that
fun.
too, actually. And then that's when Batman's at home now with Alfred saying, I think Robin's kind of losing it.
I think having him deal with the grief over his parents' death by dressing up and fighting criminals wasn't the right way to go. Maybe I should have rethought this strategy.
Well, that's what I love about Jason Todd, because like I feel like when Dick Grayson, like, he just gets over it because he's like a fun crime fighter. But like, if your parents are killed and you're like, I'm gonna go beat people up to deal with that, you're gonna become a psychopath.
Dick Grayson's always been like superhumanly optimistic and positive, and like the bright spot in Batman's life.
Yeah.
Jason Todd is like what a real child would be like if he was put through this scenario. Like, he will be fucked up, and this scenario will not make him any less fucked up.
Yeah. So he's telling Alfred, "Hey, I think I'm taking Jason off active duty." And of course, Jason's standing at the door, and he's like, "You're not my real dad," and storms away. And then we cut to Joker escaping Arkham Asylum. For some reason, this is like, the common thing that he does.
Yeah.
I love that because it just shows a newspaper that says Joker escapes again. Yeah, and he killed like 7 people escaping. It's like, you guys,
They let him mix chemicals
need to get rid of the Joker, which I'm glad it's actually talked about in this comic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they gave him, like, because of good behavior, they let him use the janitor's room, and then he mixed up chemicals in the janitor's room to make his laughing gas and kill everyone.
Of course he did, you idiots. I do want to say that the whole, like, should we kill the Joker thing is the main crutch of the story when, in 20 years later, when Jason Todd comes back from the dead. And it's actually, like, one of my favorite Batman stories, because, like, it's also the movie Under the Red Hood. If you don't want to read a comic book, it's really good. And, like, Jason Todd's like, Joker does all this bullshit, and then he killed me, and you still let him just go around killing everybody, you asshole.
Yeah.
So Joker goes home to his lair and he's like, "Hey, I'm back. I'm gonna get out of this place, but I have a cruise missile that he got from the military like, where the fuck did he get this?"
What is the goon that he's with is like a 50s gangster in a pinstripe suit and like a toothbrush. No, what is that? A needle mustache or whatever the small.
He's like, "Hey, boss, where'd you get this cruise missile?"
Yeah, hey boss, what are you doing?
And he's like, "Yeah, I was gonna shoot it at City Hall, but I'm just gonna sell it to some Arab terrorists now."
Well, that's the interesting thing about the story in general, because it feels like Jim Starlin was trying to, because Joker says like, "Oh, we're small time, we're just mobsters trying to rob banks," but I want to start getting political. He literally says like, "I want to get political." Like this seems like he wants to like is trying to make the comic grow up in the sense and start going on a more...
Yeah, again, it's just like such a struggling pull where you have this like clown that's talking about selling it to basically Iran later on.
Yeah.
And there's this guy next to him that's just like, "You'll never get out of the country, boss. The police are looking for you."
So then we cut to Jason Todd, who is just trying to deal with his emotions. He ends up going to his old house, and some neighbors like, "Hey, come get your stuff." So he goes through his old stuff, sees his parents' pictures and everything. But he realizes on I think his birth certificate, his mom isn't the mom that he thought was his mom.
Her first name starts with an S.
Martha.
Yeah. Yeah. Her first, the near birth certificate is crossed out, but he could see that it starts with an S, and the woman he knew as his mother was called Catherine, something like that.
So one thing
Yeah.
I want to point out, it's not just crossed out. The lady's like, "Oh, our apartments are so shitty. Like, some of this box got water damaged." And he looks at it, it's like, "Oh, his birth certificate got water damaged in the perfect way, so you can still see S, but none of the other name."
Oh, that's
Yeah.
dumber. That would make more sense if like his dad just crossed it out after she like just...
Yeah.
Yeah, like he didn't want him to know.
Yeah.
So Jason Todd goes back to the Batcave with this info, and he's like, "Let me look in the computer system and find women with S's who." How does he relate them? Like they know my dad or something?
No, because he found his dad's black book, like addresses and stuff like that. He's like, I'm gonna go through these addresses, find women.
Oh, right.
In the S in the name, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
use that to see.
So he finds 3 women, and all of them are on crazy missions outside of the United States.
Yeah, Charmin Rosen, who is Israeli Secret Service. Shiva Wuzin, who is a mercenary out of Lebanon.
Lady Shiva from the Question episode.
Is that like a twist, or was it like everyone would know that at this point? Because I think it felt like a twist to me.
I think Lady Shiva was a pretty new character at this point. She'd only been in like the Richard Dragon Kung Fu book.
Because they say like her name's Shiva Wuzin, but I never made a connection to Lady Shiva until she shows up in the black outfit and says, "I'm Lady Shiva." Like,
Yeah, I think she's a relatively new character.
This is actually I read Death in the Family back in college. I borrowed it from Ryan, and reading this again, it was a twist for me, being like, "Oh my god, I know who this
it was
is."
a twist for me too. Like I feel like it had to be like they dropped it in casually because maybe people will know her, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Lady Shiva Wuzin."
Yeah, because it would have otherwise it would have went like Batman's biggest rival.
Guys, we're learning the joy. Well, for Darryl and I, we're learning the joy of comics. Being like, I know that name.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And the last one is Sheila Haywood, who is working on family relief efforts in Ethiopia. So like, it's funny because his dad was like a local like thug, and like he knows all these international politics people.
Not just international politics. She said like one of the fucking Israeli Secret Service. Like
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Whatever. So
Hey, Mr. Todd got around, you know?
that's true. So we find out that Joker is on his way to Lebanon with a cruise missile. He stole a ship from the Navy, loaded the cruise missile on it, and took off.
He took the whole missile apart and then put it back together first.
Yeah.
Just because he felt like it.
Normal.
He has that knowledge too, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
Not really, because
not
he
really.
does a bad job.
Yeah, that's the plot point. Job.
So Batman's tracking the Joker. Jason Todd is tracking his mom, and Joker's trying to sell this cruise missile to terrorists.
What a plot.
Yeah, so for chapter 2, we cut to Lebanon, and this is where he thinks the cruise missile is. He's working with the CIA to get it back.
Yeah.
He's looking for this missile in the same place that Jason Todd happens to be looking for his mom.
His mother, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the perfect
Oh,
coincidence.
that's probably
kind
why Jim Starlin probably wanted to make Joker selling arms to terrorists story arc. Then he's like, oh wait, I want to do Jason Todd's story too. I guess we'll just merge them together. It happens to be his parents are super international like Secret Service agents and stuff like that.
Like they literally run into each other at the same
Not
hotel.
only is that coincidental, the guy that Bruce Wayne is looking for is walking down the like town square, wrapped like arm in arm with the suspected Jason's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he literally grabs Jason Todd like on the street. They run into each other in the same city.
Yeah, Batman does with
with Robin.
Jason
Yeah.
Todd. And that's why I love it. They're like, oh, look, we have like, we're working on the same case after all. And they like smile about it. I'm like, this is crazy.
Well, I
Yeah.
love when Jason first sees him. Jason's like, "Oh, Bruce, you really do care about me. You came to help me find my mom." And he's like, "Not really, though."
And it's one thing I find interesting because, especially with, like, the whole plot is that he wants to find his mom. He wants to have a parent or something like that. There's never a sense that Batman is his father figure at all in this at all, and it's not like he just seems like like a burden to Batman. Like he's always complaining about him, and he's always worried about him. And I feel like that affects his relationship with Jason. Like Jason, they don't really have an emotional connection with each other at all.
Yeah, that's definitely like the interesting kind of like message through Death in the Family is you naturally assume that Batman is his father, but like just reading through a lot of the dialogue, it's very unparental. Like it's a lot more like the student mentor type of thing, but even like I don't want to say a bit more distant than that, but it kind of feels like it because he worries about him, but at the same time it's like he's constantly like, okay, he'll do whatever he needs to do. I got things to do on my own.
Through Jason Todd's time as Robin, like especially after like the soft reboot, a lot of it is like Batman keeps getting disappointed that he's not as good as Dick Grayson and anything. And at one point, Jason Todd joins the Teen Titans, and they're all like, "What should we do, Robin? You're the team leader." And he's like, I'm not Dick Grayson. I don't know. And like, there's always this element of he's never good enough, and Batman treats him like he's not good enough. And I think that that's clear here too.
And there's no like, there's very few scenes of warmth between the two of them. Like even like when they reunite here, it's not like, oh my god.
Yeah, the most it is that they smile at each other that they are working on the same case instead of like, oh, we found out, or like Batman's like, let me help you find your mother. Instead, it's like, oh look, our two paths like cross directly here, so I guess we'll team up.
So the final scene here is Joker selling this missile to these terrorists, and Jason's maybe mom is in on the sale. We're assuming, I think, that since she's an Israeli agent, she's
she's secret. You could tell like she's like secret.
And so the terrorists are like, I can't wait to fire this at Israel. Haha, fuck Israel. And Joker is excited to sell it to them. And that's where Batman and Robin show up. They have this fight. They do this really fucking mean fake out where they pretend Jason's gonna die in this. They take Jason's mom hostage, one of the guys, and when Jason goes to try to save her, terrorist guy or the seller points the gun at Jason, and Batman's like, I can't save him in time. There's no way to save him. And the mom ends up flipping the assailant and saving him. But it's like they like basically say he's gonna die, and then they save him, and they're gonna end up killing him later.
The part I like kind of there is that it both serves as like kind of foreshadowing that Robin's recklessness is going to get him killed, and also it gets rid of the damsel in distress thing where it's like his mom can fend for herself.
No one knew when this is going to happen. It just says on the front cover, Robin begins a quest for his identity. His mother awaits him somewhere in the Middle East. But a sudden and violent death is also waiting for him. And the most tragic secret of all, will the Batman be in time? So I think they're trying to build suspense that Robin could die any point in the story.
So I guess like every issue they're going to keep trying to tease. It's like, is this when someone's going to die?
Yeah.
And it was so like kept a secret is they actually wrote and did full production and art and everything for a scene where Jason lives at the end.
Oh, really?
Like they didn't know what they were going to publish until it was really close. You know how like sometimes movies film like two and you know, so like nobody knows what really happens. They did the same kind of thing.
It wasn't fleshed out enough to be like his own separate issue. It was basically just a page where he finds Robin's injured body and he says, "Oh, thank God he's alive." But like like an after credits scene basically.
I see. Yeah. Well, it ends up that in the middle of this fight, the terrorists are like, "Let's just fire the missile," and it explodes. I couldn't tell if Joker did that on purpose or not.
See, that's why when you guys were saying that he didn't put it together right, I'm like, I thought he did, and it was just purposely wrong because he's funny that way.
No, because Joker looks really disappointed. Like he says, like, my money, all my money, loving money, burns to the crisp.
Oh yeah.
He's very bummed out about it.
I thought it was because the money was nearby that it blew
like
up.
He wasn't expecting it to shoot.
Because remember, they were like, "You need to stay here and watch the launch of this missile." And he's like, "No, please don't." Like,
Joker's not a subtle guy. If he wanted that thing to blow up, he'd be like, "I would have blown it up." But I fucked up and blew my money. He would have. I think because especially because the reason why Batman gets on his tail is because Batman detects that radiation is leaking in Joker's lair. That's why he detects that he learns that he has a chemical weapon.
And when they say stay for this missile, Joker says, "No reason why we can't stay and watch the show."
Yeah, and Joker's poisoning himself, and Batman's like, and it's like I don't think Joker's killing himself slowly over time just for the sake of a joke. I think he just doesn't know that he's making a weapon.
Okay.
I mean, he would do that.
Yeah, he would
And
also.
so it ends off with them saying like, "Well, I gotta go check out the next person."
Because they asked the mom, and the mom's the potential mom, and the mom says like, "Oh yeah, I didn't have a child in America, so couldn't have been you."
And Jason's like, "I gotta go see Shiva, and then I'll try Sheila Haywood in Ethiopia."
Coincidentally, Joker goes on the airplane saying, "Well, take it to Ethiopia, please."
Yeah. And that's where we end with that issue.
All right, so the story opens up in Lebanon. Batman and Robin are still looking for the mom here.
They're looking for Shiva.
Oh yeah, Lady Sheila. So,
Yep.
But she gets kidnapped in Beirut when they're visiting over there. Meanwhile, Joker is visiting the other mom, the doctor mom, and it turns out she actually like killed patients while she was in America, and like she's like on the lam kind
It's
of.
not that she's a villain. Apparently, she had like some malpractice and negligence.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a negligence, but she still had to run from it.
Yeah, so instead of facing like the courts, she ran to another country to do like humanitarian work. And Joker's like, it'd be a shame if I told people, because like, yeah, I'm sure that the Gotham PD is gonna come to Ethiopia
Yeah.
to get a doctor.
It's another kind of like funny coincidence where the Joker knows her old work
Yeah.
too. Also, did we mention that he's without his makeup and he looks really wacky?
No, sorry, we should clarify. Joker's makeup, he puts human flesh makeup over his white. His skin's pale, so like he's putting human flesh makeup to look human.
They do this a lot in Batman '89 too. And they don't do it at all in this book, but I always think that's a cool effect when he like gets sweaty or wipes his head and like it's white under.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah,
they
so,
don't
like,
do that here.
We're used to the Heath Ledger Joker where it's just makeup, but traditionally Joker is just pale-skinned motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's blackmailing the mob for medical supplies because he's like, now I lost my missile, I'm gonna start getting to medical supplies. So he's gonna steal medical supplies from his family relief camp. And
Yeah, that's profitable, huh?
There has to be a quicker way for him to make money.
I know, it's like he had to go to Ethiopia to steal medical supplies, as if that's the most profitable thing in the world for him to do.
how far? I don't know about distance. How far is this from the previous area they were in?
Lebanon
It's
to
not that-
Ethiopia?
it's not that far. It's
Should
not
I
that
Google
far.
Maps it?
I have a feeling like maybe like he was like in the area and he's like, I guess we could go steal supply. I guess it's also Joker. He's like, it's extra funny because I'm stealing supplies from poor dying people and they're all gonna die and I'm gonna maybe it's at a level of just being a fucking dick because this is like comically evil, just stealing supplies from.
This is not
Yeah.
close. This is like 4,500 kilometers apart.
Okay, so yeah,
I guess so, yeah.
Well, it's a 3-hour plane ride, so.
that's still a long time for a whim. It feels like
I was looking at driving directions. If you take a plane, it's only 1,700 miles.
Okay.
It's it's a weirdly specific place to go for your next scheme.
Yes.
When it's like you could go anywhere, it's like, oh, I guess Ethiopia.
I can
Yeah.
understand them crossing paths with Joker once, but twice?
Yeah, and like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of time passes for Joker to be hatching a plan. If Joker like takes a plane right from the previous area to this area, so like he had it as soon as the missile failed, he's like, I'm gonna
It
go
makes
to
me wonder about who's the author here?
Jim Starlin.
Yeah, Jim Starlin. That he wrote himself into a corner with a lot of this, where it's like, okay, I need 3 different moms, so it's like they can't all be in the same country or general area because then it would be too convenient in that direction. But then when you split it up and the Joker has to visit all these moms, then it's too convenient in the other direction.
In his defense, Joker doesn't visit the second mom. Batman and Robin do, and
Okay.
Joker's already made it to the third
Yeah,
mom.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
the,
visiting the third mom
the
while the second mom's
coincidence
happening.
there is the second mom is a villain.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I really love the idea that Lady Shiva is like the world's greatest assassin and mercenary, and she's still in some 2-bit like goon from Gotham's address book.
Yeah, that's such a weird. That's like if Vice's dad, like they should release like real like they did with Spider-Man. They reveal his parents were international spies or some shit like that. So like if you're gonna do stuff like that, you shouldn't reveal like Todd's dad was international spy or something because this makes
No, they would just they hung out one time at a bar or something.
yeah like they got
Yeah.
that's what they say like later on.
Well, I mean, his dad did know Two-Face, so potentially maybe he could know.
But like even Two-Face is kind of Two-Face is kind of a 2-bit dog. Like I could
Yeah, does he operate outside Gotham?
Yeah, I don't think he
No,
does.
not
Like,
really.
it's just what makes it so weird. Like, if he knew one, like if he met just the mom, and she happened to go on to become this family relief doctor, that's one thing. But he also knew Lady Shiva and the Israeli Secret Service agent. Like, that takes a bit too far. Like, if they scale it down a bit, it might be a bit believable. Like, if they ran into, like, I don't know, it's just weird. Batman and Robin go to this camp, and then they're able to take out everyone super easily, and they're like, wow, you got a bunch of rookies. And it
Well,
turns
they
out,
say like these don't feel like real terrorists. These are terrorists in training.
yeah, but it turns out that Lady Shiva, was she in charge of it or?
She's
Yeah,
she's
she
training.
was.
them.
She was training
Yeah, oh yeah, she was training them, and she says, "You figure out I was hired to train this mob of malcontents." And she knocks out Robin, and she's like, "I want to 1v1 me, Batman. You say I noob." And Batman, it's funny because Batman is like, I really want to fight. Just I have stuff to do. Like I don't want to fight just to prove dick waving contest basically. And then she's like, "No, I want to fight you. Like I want to show I'm better than you." And Batman's like, "Okay." Like he's like trying to swat her away, like get away from me. And he realizes, wait, she's kicking the shit out of me. Holy fuck. The only reason why Batman's able to win is because Robin wakes up and he's like conflicted because he's like, should I save my mom, my potential mom, or Batman? And like he has enough connection to Batman to save him versus this potential villain mom.
Well, it's not like he's killing her.
No, he's knocking her out and like making her lose. I guess he also knows Batman's not gonna kill her or anything, but Lady Shiva might kill Batman. That like sways options.
Yeah.
The people of Lady Shiva, they blow up her base, they take her out, and Batman asks her, "Have you ever had a baby?" And Lady Shiva just starts laughing, saying, "Oh, certainly, I've had dozens of babies. I've dropped litters in every center of the globe." And they're both like, "I knew she's not gonna fucking talk. I brought some truth serum though."
Yeah, it's that idea that it's like that she's just gonna like lie about it. So it's like, okay, now we have to put in the truth serum to this troll woman.
I don't get why she would lie to them. Like who fucking?
Because she's
Yeah,
like,
it's
fuck
so
you.
funny.
She's just like, fuck you.
Well, Lady Shiva, that's
Yeah.
what Lady Shiva is all about, really. Like in what was in question, she's just like, I'm here just for shits and giggles, like basically, like I'm so strong and powerful, I can do whatever I want. So I'm just curious about all this stuff. So like, she was curious to join the mayor in question, and then she was curious about question, so she spared him even though the mayor told her to kill him. And like she's basically like, she really doesn't give a fuck. Like she's basically just a massive troll who can do whatever the fuck she wants because no one can really take her out.
She's pretty cool.
She's pretty good.
Yeah, she is pretty cool.
And so like they're like, okay, we'll leave you tied here because we know you're gonna free yourself eventually. So, but we're gonna leave so you don't just start fighting with us again.
Well, Batman puts in the truth serum and he finds out that she hasn't had.
You are not the mother.
Yeah, you're not.
What's weird too, I felt, is that there's like a dialogue box specifically about Batman using the truth serum that says every fiber of my being is revolted by the thought of what I'm about to do.
I guess because like
I didn't know he drew such a hard line with the truth serum.
I mean, it's like
murdering.
drugging people, and
it is, yeah. I don't
it's
know.
kind of
Yeah, but it's to get information that could be like useful.
Oh, so torture then is also you can get information.
Batman tortures. He hangs people upside down and threatens.
Yeah,
to
this feels
drop
like it
them.
feels like an old school Batman kind of thing. Like I feel like modern Batman wouldn't have this really any.
Like, if anything, drugging them against their will just to give you information and then you're gonna let them go after is almost possibly more humane. Like, it's more of an invasion of privacy, but it's not like constantly threatening them or punching them in the face.
Yeah, I feel like
that's
this is like when Batman was still like the Batman that had a red phone in Commissioner Gordon's office, and then he took the fucking was it the firefighter pole down to the Batmobile and drove over to Commissioner Gordon and said, "Hey, what's up, Commissioner Gordon?" That shit. Now that this is gone, like he has no problem with interrogating criminals in any whatever way this is necessary. Besides like full out torture, like pain, physical pain, usually just intimidation, stuff like that. But then they go to Ethiopia. And this is why I find interesting, because you could tell like this is the 80s when people became aware about this kind of stuff, because it talks about how Ethiopia is full of starving people.
Well, they're at a refugee camp.
Yeah, the third world country refugee camp. Everyone's starving. Everyone's emaciated. And Robin finally, Batman brings Robin to his mom, and she just runs up to her, just hugging her, saying, "Mother, mother, mother." So this woman's like, sees like these two random strangers show up, and one kid just grabbing her, saying, "Mother, mother, mother." And
Well, even so I just want to go back for a second and talk about the way Starlin talks about this refugee camp. 'Cause he says, an Ethiopian refugee camp just outside Magdala. The misery has returned. Once again, the world didn't listen in time. The same mistakes were repeated. Starvation and death cast a long shadow over this land. The refugees flock into the camps by the thousands each day. It's utterly heartbreaking.
yeah, that's what I mean by, you can tell this is when they start becoming aware of these issues and start wanting to bring them into the comic books.
Yeah.
But like there's like a mismanagement of tone sometimes.
It's kind of interesting because like I like shining a light on that, but like while they're in Lebanon, there was no kind of like talking about the situation going on in Lebanon. All that really happened is that Batman like got in a car and he's like, "Take me to your most dangerous alley," and the taxi driver knew where to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which just gives like the feeling it's just like, it doesn't seem like I felt like there was more of a point you could make about.
Yeah. It feels like there's a lot of
different countries.
That's what I mean. Like this feels like an attempt to kind of get more global. Like you could tell, like Jim Starlin's probably watching the news at this point. He's probably like he wants to write something, and like maybe he got tasked to write this kill Robin story, and he's like maybe I'll have them stop by Lebanon and Ethiopia while he's at it. But like
yeah, it's really interesting that like I wish I knew which came first, whether or not he was told to kill Robin or whether or not he wanted to do an international story, and he's like, oh, this is a.
I think he was told to kill Robin. Based on the fact that Denny O'Neil was like, let's kill Robin.
It's a really wild idea, especially the way that this arc wraps up, that it's tied in with killing Robin and this international like crisis, basically.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do it, because it's like that super bizarre tone where it's really got some growing pains for the medium here.
Yeah, and it's still like, as we said before, it's still like latching on to its campiness.
Yeah.
Like Batman and Robin were flying in rocket powered hang gliders to track his mom. And it's just like Jesus.
Yeah.
And they're like, she won't be able to find us because we'll look like birds from afar. It's like they're not even that high up.
Yeah.
By the way, the Bruce Wayne and Jason Todd, they're just civilian identities while they're meeting the mom. As far as the mom knows, it's just Bruce Wayne, the millionaire, brought his ward, and it turns out his ward is her son, and so Bruce Wayne leaves to let them get acquainted, and she tells him how like she banged his dad, but I forget why she.
In riveting detail.
Yeah,
it's because she had the malpractice stuff, and
so she had malpractice stuff, and then she left, and then she found out that the dad met somebody else while she was away. And she was like, "I'm not. Why give volunteer your life at that point? You already have this person as your mom, basically. So you kind of let it go." Joker shows up, and the mom says, "I have somebody to meet. See you later." But since Jason Todd is Robin, he knows Joker is Joker, even if it's fucking.
Also, the Joker's face is like 3 times longer than anyone else's face.
He looks so bizarre with that fucking face.
Mm-hmm.
Joker and the mom talk about their plan to steal the medical supplies, and the mom looks resentful. So Jason's like, "Oh no, Joker's forcing her to do this. I gotta go save her." So he tags along and learns about the plan, and he follows them to the second location where they're bringing the drugs, and it turns out the Joker's not only loading the medical supplies from the refugee camp, he's also putting in Joker gas to replace it, so that way he can kill other people too. And also social workers.
What a dick.
Yeah.
He's so concerned about like getting money, but he's like, I'm gonna spend however much it costs to make Joker laughing gas like in such high quantities that I can replace the medical supplies with laughing gas.
Well, I guess it's kind of like if you're an alcoholic and you want to get rich, but it's like I have to buy like liters every week.
I mean, the thing is that's the Joker. Like he's
Joker.
the only villain that I could be like, it doesn't have to make sense.
Like look at any Joker film, Dark Knight, fucking Batman 1989. You could stop analyze like why he's throwing all this money around or whatever the fuck in these scenes or whatever in the Batman 89, or why is he blowing up this hospital just for a point or whatever. It's all because he's fucking crazy and he's trying to bring in chaos.
Yeah, it's just funny that his onus for coming here is money.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, because I'm not like saying why would he poison refugees. I'm like, he's trying to make money off it.
Yeah, he's sabotaging himself.
He said the mom was like, "Oh no, don't kill all the people." And it's like, "No, I'm doing you a favor. Think about it as a way of cutting down the mouths you have to feed." And so like, and I find that funny.
Yeah, it's really funny, Sly. Fucking population control Sly over here.
I just find it funny that he's just like, "Oh, I'm less people to feed. Like you kill all these refugees."
Yeah, it kind of like echoes the dark humor
Yeah.
that Joker uses later on. Where it's like, I'm doing a good thing.
The thing that happens next is so silly to me, where Jason's like, oh no, it's a Joker, I better go get Batman. And he runs to Bruce Wayne, and he's like, we got Joker trouble. And Bruce Wayne's like, oh, good thing in this Jeep that I have, I brought our Batcopter, and it's like a little single-seat helicopter.
Yeah, and he just lifts up and flies away. And it's just, again, the campiness where like, Jesus, like, did you really need to bring back the Batcopter for
It looks like the Batcopter too. It doesn't look like the Burton Batmobile or the fucking.
Yeah, it's got like the blades. It's purple. It's got the nice yellow emblem in the middle of it.
And he tells Jason, "You stay out of it. The Joker's too dangerous. I gotta go zip away in this little helicopter."
What happened is Batman has to go stop the supply of Joker gas to the camp.
Yeah.
So that's the main priority because everyone's gonna die.
But he says to Jason, "Don't go face the Joker without me."
Yeah, I know you care about your mom, but you can't go save her. You have to wait for me. We'll go take her out together, but obviously Robin's like, I gotta go save my mom.
Jason, I can't stress enough. If you don't listen to me, you will be killed.
Yeah, I like that he specifically, like, he states it twice. He's like, don't do this, it's dangerous. And then he says, you will die if you do this. Like, winking at the reader.
He says just once. Just for once in your goddamn life, can you listen to me and not die?
Yeah. But Jason ignores Batman, of course, and goes to go save his mom. And he says, "Mom, I know you have trouble with the Joker," and she's like, "I know what you're talking about. Everything's fine." And he reveals that he's Robin, and I'm here to help you. And she's like, "Okay, come inside." And it turns out she sets him up because she's actually embezzling the medical funds herself. She's a fucking crook too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was such a surprise. Even though I had already read this, it's like with Lady Shiva, I completely forgot that she betrayed him.
I love this
So do I.
twist. Like the fact that she's a shitty person. Like they make it seem like she's like stuck in a bad situation, and but she is a bad person. Like the reason she's went to work with the Joker now because she knows if the investigation into what happens here occurs, they'll find out she was embezzling money, and then she'll be in jail too. And she's like, I didn't do all this just to get caught after all this time. So fuck you. And then she basically watches as Joker starts beating the shit out of Robin and for fucking crowbar and like smashing his fucking face in.
This is like one of the darkest scenes ever, even though it's still like the art style is still kind of campy, but he beats him with a crowbar, and then it's just 6 panels like back to back to back of Joker with this huge grin on his face, just hitting him over and over and over and over again with a crowbar. And like that's not superhero violence. That's like straight up horrible.
And below the panels are Robin's mother, and it's 3 of them, and it's her looking at it, and then her turning away, grimacing at it, and then her smoking a cigarette, looking away.
And then below
like, having to deal with
that is Batman in a little copter.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god. What a perfect combination of panels.
Yeah, the bicopter. Batman's he saved the refugee camp, but Robin's mom says, what will happen when Batman comes back? He'll see that you beat the shit out of his little friends. So Robin's like, I gotta cut. So Batman's Robin, Batman, everyone. No, Joker says, I gotta cover up the evidence, so I'm gonna blow this place up. And you know what? I'm gonna blow you up too, Robin's mom. So he ties her up with his goons, and he leaves a bomb in the place. And Robin gets up, and he's like completely fucking fucked up. Like he's bleeding. His face is a mess, and he's like scrambling, trying to get to the bomb in time, trying to untie his mom first. And she's like, no, go ignore me. Try to get the bomb. He's like, no, I can't figure it out. I gotta get you out of here, Mom. So the 2 of them are trying to get out in time, but it blows up as Batman reaches the area.
Well, because she goes to, like, he unties her, and he's, like, all bloody and, like, beaten. And she goes to help him carry out. She goes to help carry Jason out of the building. She's like, no, we'll get out of here together. We're almost there. And then they get to the door, and the door's locked because the Joker's just a total asshole. Yeah. And then it blows up as Batman approaches.
Yeah, that's a good point because it's a very well done scene because it feels like it could have been a moment where they could have lived because she has a moment of where she kind of wants to redeem herself and save Jason when she could have just ran out of there by herself.
And it almost echoes the scene before when the missile blew up because like Jason was real close to the missile and they got away from the explosion just in time. But this time Joker just locked the door.
Yeah.
So then Batman arrives there, and it's just like a smoldering wreckage. Like there's not a structure standing, and he's combing through it, and he's reminiscing about how when he first found Jason, he was stealing the tires off the Batmobile, and that he took him in, but Jason was still like really brash, and he had a rebellious streak in him. Like he even points out that he kept him on as Robin because when confronting Two-Face, that he spared him instead of killing him.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was proud of him for doing that. And then he stumbles upon Jason's mother, and his mother explains everything that was going on. Basically, like, catching the reader up, because this is the issue after, like, Robin basically dies. Or he dies in this one, I guess. She has to give the backstory.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, in comics, they always have a way to deliver the plot until that point. So that way people are reading this issue. Basically, they didn't want to have that last time on Batman, but this is their way of doing it.
It's folded into the first third of the story.
The thing that I love about the way she recaps just last issue, though, is Batman catches her, and he's like, Sheila, what happened here? And she says, Joker, he tied us up, set bomb to explode, wanted to eliminate all evidence of his being here. Jason tried to rescue me, we almost made it, so close. He turned out to be such a good kid, all his problems, and he still turned out good. He's much better than I deserve, much better. He threw himself in front of me, he took the main brunt of the blast. Such a good boy, must have really loved his mother. and then she dies, and Batman says the pain is all behind her now.
This was really powerful for me. This whole this is why when I read this again, it really hit me because like Jason, all he wanted was his mother, and like he was looking really across the globe for her, and he meets his mother, and she's a pure shithead, and even like he could have like tried to crawl by himself, but he still wanted to untie her and save her too.
And the thing that I love about this moment too is he then finds Jason's body, and we've already gotten the like cliched like last breath. Like exposition, final words, that by the time he gets to Jason, he's already dead.
Yeah.
Jason just doesn't survive at all. And this is when Batman, he's already getting cold to the touch, gone, and he hugs him, and then it's like the iconic picture of Batman carrying Jason's dead body with him like looking very sad, and it's a full page spread with no dialogue.
Well, this is where like I became like pro Ryan again. Like last week, I got Gardner and Jason Tower, two characters Ryan always raves about, and I'm like I read them like I don't really give a shit. But last issue made me like Gardner, and this is like this really made me feel sad for Jason. Just
I did too.
He all he wanted was a mother, and like he was willing to do anything for her, and she just betrayed him and caused his death.
One of the things I wish that they perhaps like that. God damn it, that Starlin had commented on a little more. That we mentioned before is just like how the Batman being like a parental figure, like is he that, or is he a mentor, is he a father? And I wish he had made some mention about like him trying to find his mother as like a need or a necessity to kind of save his adopted mother, basically, or stepmother, like that kind of thing, because it never draws the direct comparison that he actually until this issue that he loved his mother, and that's what made him really long to like find this mother kind of a thing. It's like the two ideas aren't connected at all until she like mentions it. I wish perhaps that was like seeded in a little more naturally.
I felt that was implied. Like I thought maybe
I would have liked to see that more explicit.
I'm maybe because the comics explain so much that we expect that, but I kind of like they didn't go into it. I felt like that was implied, and that's what I get. That's why it hit me so hard.
See, I think when comics go so far into that stuff that like when it goes unstated, it kind of feels like it is actually unstated.
But that's why I think it works for me, because this explains so much that it's like it didn't have to explain that. It just says like he loves his mother. That's all you. I think that's all you. For me, that's all you really had to say on that matter. It really hit me hard. That line.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's get to the real meat and potatoes of the story.
Oh yeah. So
this is when I'm like, fuck this comic.
Yeah. So I mean, Joker
goes to sell off the medical supplies.
Yeah, he goes to sell off the medical supplies, and then there's members of the surprise. There's a member of the Iranian Secret Service there, and he's like, "There's someone really important that wants to meet with you." And Joker opens the door, and he like gasps, and he's like, the Joker is impressed by just anyone, and it's the Ayatollah Khomeini,
the true evil mastermind.
Yep.
My God.
And I don't know, I can't do an accent for him, but he says, "I have a position in my government I wish to offer you, Monsieur Joker."
And it's one of those weird things, like whenever, because like Joker is drawn like a '60s Joker kind of way, like we talked about his long face and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's got bright green hair and red lips.
Yeah, and I told Camille it looks like he's traced from a photo. It's just funny, like
he probably fucking was.
Yeah, I always find that it's like when you see a webcomic when like somebody makes a parody of like Mario, and then he runs into like George Bush. It looks fucking surreal.
Yeah.
And even this though, so Joker meets with the Ayatollah, and he's like, "I have a position in my government to offer you." Meanwhile, we get Bruce struggling to explain this to like the authorities, and then it cuts to like Jason's funeral, where he was like, Jason's life was too short for his passing to cause many ripples, and the only people there are Bruce Wayne, the priest, Commissioner Gordon, Barbara Gordon, and Alfred. And like, why do you have to put this weird Iranian thing in the middle of it?
The story cut in between.
Yeah,
I think I get why, because he wanted to have Joker be untouchable and like Batman be pissed off. I think it's supposed to tap into like the Dark Knight.
It's actually it's good that Ryan had the two comics before the Death in the Family to talk about it, because it is the type of thing where Robin sought out justice against this person that had diplomatic immunity, and he was going to get it no matter what, because that was real justice to him. And now Batman's faced with the same thing, where you have a criminal that killed someone, and then it's later revealed that the Joker is now the ambassador to Iran. So he has diplomatic immunity too, and Superman he flies down because when this is revealed, Superman's there to make sure, Batman doesn't kill him because he knows he's going to lose it after Jason had died.
Batman doesn't kill the Joker. Not kill Superman.
And I like this too, because like right before Superman shows up, Alfred's like, should I call Dick Grayson? And Bruce is like, no, I'll handle this by myself. No help from now on. That's the way I want it. And then he's like, Joker, it'll just be you and me. I've excused the evil you've done in the past because of your insanity. I'll not make that mistake again. And that's when Superman shows up and he's like, hey, the State Department asked me to stop by. Don't kill the Joker. Just don't do it. You can't do that.
I like the reveal too, because he doesn't know that he's the ambassador yet. There's just a hint left. See you at 42nd and First, and he's like, in Metropolis, that's just a deli. In Gotham, that's just whatever. But in New York City, and it's the UN, and he's like, there's no fucking way he'd be here. And that's when Superman's like, hey, you're gonna be mad about the new ambassador. And he's like, who is it? And he's like, just don't worry. And he's like, who is it?
Where are they?
And I actually like this a lot, because Superman is like, don't do it. And then he's like, who's the ambassador, Superman? Who is it? And he's like, just go home, Bruce. Don't do it. And he's like, who is it? And he punches Superman in the face and like really hurts his hand. And Superman's like, you're lucky I rolled with that punch. You could have crippled yourself. Are you done being a child now? And he's like, who's the new ambassador?
And then of course here comes Joker. He's like, hey guys, I'm the ambassador for Iran.
Yep.
He does call him Super Ham and Bat Pest. Very good.
Oh my god!
This is why I brought up Dark Returns. This feels like specifically because this is Batman being anti-establishment, going against the authority figure, and Superman coming in to represent the establishment, being like, Batman, you have to do the right thing. You have to do this. Like, this is basically what he did in Dark Knight Returns, where he's like, you have to settle down. Like, we can't be the world shakers. You have to know your place. And Batman's like, no, I want to shake the world. I don't give a fuck about your laws.
There is no fucking way the United States would accept an ambassador that is a known serial killer in their country. Like, you can just say, I'd rather just not have a diplomat than that fucker in my country.
Yeah.
Like it's the fucking Joker. He mass murders.
It's absurd. The whole thing is absurd.
It's really absurd.
Yeah, which again, like the way, like it's cool if you want to do stuff where it's like the Ethiopian refugee crisis was ignored by the world, and we should pay more attention to it. But then when you're like, Iran's so evil, they would hire the Joker as their ambassador.
If we're gonna talk about political commentary, there is a joke where the Joker shows up in Ethiopia a couple issues ago, and he's like, I need money. I'm gonna steal all your medicine because I'm just another victim of Reaganomics.
Yeah, he says.
Oh yeah.
And Darryl said this is a political comic, but before we did it, like, oh, it's not that political. So I've read this before.
Well, I mean, I'm not like super into the taking jabs at Reagan is politics.
No, but I feel like it's just like comics in the 80s trying to take politics on for sure.
Because at least I'm gonna defend myself here about this, because when we were talking about the Green Lantern issue, it actually went into like the pros and cons of communism, even though it had the American slant to it. Whereas like here, there's no defense for Iran at all.
It's black and white, and observations are pretty surface level. Like we mentioned, like he just looks at the Ethiopian crisis like that's bad.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, I wish there was more we could do to help. But anyway, like going on to
I definitely agree with like this is all surface level, but I feel like it's the same vein. Like I think Steve Englehart did it better, but I think this is trying to be aware of that. Like I find this era interesting because like we keep talking about over and over again, it's 60s Batman in fucking like Ethiopia. Like it's pretty much that, and he's meeting 60s Joker, and 60s Joker's killing people.
It's aware of it, but it doesn't engage with the material.
I agree, but it's just
okay.
It's like a weird.
Right.
It's just,
we're finding a lot of common ground here on this episode. So Batman meets with the CIA agent who tells him it's like, hey, you can't do anything about this because he's going to be speaking at the UN, right?
Yeah, and they say like, oh, if we reject, I don't know, maybe Phil knows more about this, because they say if we reject their ambassador, then they can reject our ambassadors, and that's bad. Is that a thing?
Yeah, they could, but like if someone presents their ambassador as a serial killer, wouldn't you just be like, well, you can fuck off? Like, like it's so absurd. Like that's already spitting in your face. I feel this is supposed to be like the peak like troll. Like if this probably wasn't mentality at the time that Iran is just there to fuck like basically how if you North Korea now, like Iran was basically like North Korea, they just want to fuck with us as max as they can. Which they probably didn't. They probably want to fuck with us a little bit, but not to this level. I mean, like maybe if they had the Joker as an option, maybe they would. I don't know.
I was wondering, like North Korea would do this. North Korea would do this. So maybe I don't know.
Would they? As they're currently, I mean, this is like it's 2 weeks before we're gonna find out, but they're trying to reach it.
Yeah, now they are.
They're
but,
trying to
yeah, now they are.
reach
But I mean, like,
diplomacy with South
But
Korea.
they might
right
have
now.
2 years ago.
yeah, like the last decade, they might have had the Joker if that's an option. But I don't know if Iran was ever that evil. Maybe, who knows?
I mean, this was post the 79 revolution, so they were pretty hardcore anti-West.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like maybe I guess I don't know. It seems crazy.
Also, Joker can like get cruise missiles whenever he wants. Apparently,
Joker's a Westerner himself. Like them hiring it.
But it's like bringing
Whatever.
Dennis Rodman to North Korea. You're like, yeah, fuck off.
Yeah.
but Dennis Rodman doesn't like murder millions of people.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that's why this is so crazy. Like I feel like in any world the UN would just reject this guy because he mass murders people. He's literal criminal. Like diplomatic immunity is for crimes that you.
He's also dangerous to have in Iran.
Yeah.
No, but maybe he's turned over a new leaf. Maybe he's gonna actually be the ambassador and not try to murder everybody.
Oh, we're giving too much thought to this.
Okay, let's just finish this fucking issue.
So basically, Superman tells him, it's like, hey, you can't do anything. I'm gonna be there to ensure everything's safety. And Batman's like, you don't know the Joker. And he said, spare me your Boy Scout sentimentalities. I like that. And then Batman thinks about it, and he's like, I have to do, like, the right thing. There's a lot of internal monologuing in
He's
this,
like, don't be too emotional, but then he's like,
Yep.
you fucking killed Jason, though.
Yep, he goes and sees the Joker, and what's weird is he sees him in the, like,
Embassy?
yeah, in the embassy, and he just tells him, it's like, tomorrow it ends, and then he goes away. Which, if, like, he was gonna kill the Joker, I don't know why you would wait for him to reveal his plan.
He does the classic move where he's like, "You killed Robin," and the Joker's like, "Oh, you found out," and then he's like, "Thanks, I wasn't sure until just now." How
Yeah.
the fuck else would he have died, you idiot?
this next scene, ironically, is probably one of the best Batman Joker scenes of all time.
Yes, I agree.
At the UN embassy, Batman shows up as Bruce Wayne, and Joker shows up in his fucking Iran cosplay. And as he's walking through Alice, he looks at Bruce Wayne, and the two of them just stare at each other. And then they're just staring at each other. And then Joker walks away, just starts laughing. And you could tell,
he
like,
says, "Does he recognize me? Does he know who I am? I may never know. I'm feeling a terrible sense of finality. We've been linked to each other for so long, neither of us truly understands the bond." And it's this idea that he could just tell he's Batman.
yeah, I like that idea. Like,
I like it a lot. yeah.
Joker just knows, you can just tell, like, after knowing him for so long.
And then Joker goes up and does a fucking Rodney Dangerfield routine.
Yep, and he talks about, like, what are the things he has in common with Iran? Insanity and a great love of fish.
And he's like, oh, but fortunately, we also get no respect. I get no respect, that
Yep.
tells you.
Yeah.
Yep, everyone thinks of us as a terrorist zealot, so then he's like, we're not going to take it anymore, and then he reveals he has, like, bombs strapped to him with gas in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then just starts shooting everyone with the
Laughing gas.
the Joker gas, but then the guard next to him breaks his gun automatically, and then breathes in all the gas because he's Superman.
I thought it was a cool
And then-
twist.
Okay, this is the thing
Yeah.
that's so that this is a small thing that's I hate though. Superman breathes in all the gas, which is stupid. But then
I think that's cool. I like that.
hold on.
I mean, again, it's a comic book type of thing where it's like, well, his lungs are so powerful that he could hold in all
but
the
then
gas.
he says out loud, "Batman, he's all yours. I've got to find some safe place to get rid of this gas." How?
I just like that. It felt like a very Superman moment where he's just there. I don't know. I like that.
He's
Especially
just going to go into space with it.
He doesn't even have his fucking X-ray vision see that Joker has bombs planted all over the room too.
No, that cosplay is lead.
I think he wanted. I think if he did see that, I think he wanted Joker to reveal himself. Like, so that way they can say, like, okay.
Yeah, but then, like Ryan says, he has all these bombs. He presses it, and people die.
Yeah, he kills all the fucking ambassadors anyway. Like Superman doesn't actually save them.
Yeah. So and Batman's getting in a fight, and as he's trying to fight him, Joker's just shooting with a gun, and he's hitting all these other people that are here.
Yeah.
And then he runs away, and then they get in like a helicopter, and Batman's fighting him in the helicopter, and then these Iranian thugs start trying to shoot him, and they accidentally hit the pilot. And then the copter goes down, and Batman has to jump into the harbor.
It's very classic finale. Like,
Yeah.
the Batman Forever. It's the Batman Forever intro scene of the Two-Face, basically. With
Superman flies by, and Batman's like, find his body! Find his body! And then the narration says, by no, he won't. That's the way things always end with Joker and me, unresolved.
And
I do like this end a lot.
No! I do not.
I get why probably Ryan likes it. It feels like things kind of default back to the way they were, but
Get back to square one, guys.
But now Robin's dead.
but but it just feels like I think it would have been better if he just stayed Iran ambassador. If like to just explain
Oh my
why.
God.
You know what I think would have been better if Batman just killed him in the embassy at night.
Yes.
Like,
But I mean, okay.
Yes.
I didn't agree with that. But I mean, like, if they wanted to do it the way they did, where Joker can't die, because he's too popular or whatever the fuck. But it's just such a weird, because it's such a weird status quo because Joker can't die because he's too popular.
Yeah, man, it's just like it's with the parallels to Jason Todd and him killing the person that had diplomatic immunity, and it's like I'm fine if you want to take it in the same direction, but Batman doesn't do it because he's like, I'm not gonna stoop to that level. I am gonna be the bigger man, even though you're like killing all these people. But it doesn't give him that chance. The copter crashes and he doesn't give the chance to prove that it's like, I am not going to stoop to that level. The entire time he's like, no, I'm stooping to that level. And then it's like, well, things end unresolved, and then I guess his feelings will just go away and he'll be like, well, maybe I shouldn't kill him.
That's a good point.
Instead of being like making a point about whether or not it's okay to like engage in vigilante justice.
There's no revelation here because Batman has never confronted with the choice. Like the choice he has.
He doesn't get the choice. It gets taken from him.
Like that's the beauty of like the Killing Joke is at the end, even though it ends ambiguously, Batman has the choice at the end of what to do.
That's also Dark Knight Returns. Basically, some idea Joker kills all these people in the theme park, and Batman is left to that confrontation, and they have a definite answer to that there.
Maybe we should at some point do Under the Red Hood because it addresses this stuff from Jason's perspective really well.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Red Riding Hood, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that came out 20 years later, so it's hardly a way to justify this story.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Darryl. Like even from because my take was that they really went in a dumb direction. There's no way to salvage it. But even the direction they took, they could have made a decent point at least. Even
That's
with all
true.
There was when I was saying this, there's some other comic Divisive issue fans. Let us know what other one I was ranting about where I was like, they take away the chance to resolve it with the person. Because I know there was something else I complained about.
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
We've done.
I
so
block
much
out this show like every time we record. I forget. Like, did we do Killing Joke? I don't even remember.
We did the movie, remember?
No, we did the comic too.
Oh yeah, we compared them.
Yeah.
We didn't remember. No one.
Cool. I really try to forget. I'm gonna drink after this heavily and just.
So you drink to remember. I drink to forget.
I only drink to forget this show.
Everything else in my life is happy, but this show is just fucking.
Would you guys read more Jim Starlin Batman or Jason Todd?
I would.
Yeah, I like Starlin stuff. It at least gets you to think about it. Like, I don't feel like it's wasting time. Like a certain comic we cover for our Patreon exclusive bonus episode.
Find out more when you give us money.
When I always talk about ambitious stories, like this felt ambitious. Like it was misguided in a lot of cases, but like it stood out and it hit me in a lot of places. Like especially Jason Todd stuff. Like it's trying to do a lot of things and doesn't do everything well, or a lot of things well. There's one thing really well and everything else kind of mediocre. But it's still, I was engaged while reading it, and I would like to be more of it.
That's a good way to put it, is that you're engaged while reading it.
When the DC Universe rebooted and they gave Jason Todd his own book, I was really hoping that this would be a chance for them to retell this story. And they super fuck it up, and it's all just, it's dumb.
We should read that next.
That's why DC's dumb in general, because...
Yeah. But the Under the Red Hood movie retells this story without the Iranian stuff, and it's way better.
If you want to know why DC reboots are really stupid, imagine this story... If you want to read up on Batman's story in Batman history and whatever, imagine you have to read this story, but then somebody tells you, okay, that doesn't count anymore, that doesn't count anymore, that doesn't count anymore. That's how DC does its reboots. The story just, you still have to read the old issues, but they just pick and choose what's still canon. It's really fucking stupid. It works on zero levels. Marvel, you have to read all the old material. DC, you have to discount what you're reading, like why you're reading it. Like it's the fucking dumbest thing ever.
Wow. No, you're right. So okay. So as Darryl and Phil so expertly shoehorned in earlier, the Flying Machine Network does have a Patreon that everyone should support. We have bonus episodes on there. There's all sorts of other stuff. It's cool, and everyone should check out all the other shows at the Flying Machine Network website, flyingmachine.network.
Yeah.
Do that and support us, and it'd be great. And...
or else we're going to have to go sell cruise missiles to, like, whoever. Just to make money, so...
And with
to North Korea.
Yeah.
Or I'll steal medical supplies.
Oh my god, and then they're going to hire Trump as their diplomat.
Well, that and the Discord and the Facebook group and everything, that's all in the show notes, so check that out.
So thank you all for listening. I've been dating Lady Shiva, Israeli Secret Service agent, and a famine relief doctor in Lebanon. Or what the fuck was it? Whatever the fuck it was. Ethiopia, yes.
I've been just another victim of Reaganomics.
I've been looking for a safe place to get rid of this gas that's in my lungs, but I'm still telling you about it.
And I adhere to the laws of diplomatic immunity despite being a vigilante that works outside the justice system.
Staying continuity.